welcome to the show! I'm with Maine, your host for today, and we are back doing some more Pokemon type tier list today. How dare! Fantastic day, fantastic evening, and fantastic life right now, everybody. I'm back. I'm here. I'm ready to talk about some video games. Hey, hope y'all having a lovely, lovely time and a fantastic day. I'm getting through it. That's all I'll really comment for today. I am getting through the day. That is what it is. I have a freaking infection in my toe. I had a good weekend, though, as much as can be expected, at least. I did have a fantastic lunch yesterday. It was we were celebrating my dad's birthday, and we basically all went out to a restaurant. This random little place that we just found because we were trying to get Sunday lunch that wasn't a carvery because none of us particularly like carvery. And I ended up having a pork tomahawk, like a giant freaking one. It was like that size. It was delicious. Cajun spiced with a weird, like, pineapple salsa. I usually don't like pineapple. I don't really like pineapple. But I tried it with this because I was like, I mean, it goes with it. It's supposed to. I'll see what it tastes like. It went beautifully together. It's just one of those things, like, it didn't taste of pineapple, which was a good start. Obviously, it was pineapples, and it just had, like, the nice sweetness to it that kind of offset and cut through the Cajun pork very, very nicely. It was absolutely divine. But anyway, let's get into the video, because this one's going to be a fucking long one. So, yes, if you've noticed on this gigantic list of blue, we are doing water types today. Water types... I've always had mixed feelings about water-type Pokemon, right? I will probably say it's one of my least favorite types in Pokemon. Now, it's not at all saying that I don't regularly use water types, or that I dislike most water types. No, the vast majority of water types I quite like. I do think there are way too fucking many because they're the most numerous type in Pokemon. Which means that you get just a lot of trash in as well as a lot of good. And they have a lot of versatility. The thing is, I don't like rain teams. That's a big one. Water types are famous for being very good on rain teams. And just good in general because they're quite tanky because they don't have many weaknesses. Water needs an extra weakness, in my personal opinion. I genuinely think it needs a third weakness. A third standardized weakness, I will say. Don't give me any of that freeze-dry, super effective bullshit. Yes, it is, but there should be another weakness for water. I will say that. Yeah. It's why I do think that there needs to be another type in Pokemon that is, that basically gives electric and... water and extra weakness each. That's the thing that I genuinely think. Because if they did that, then they'd get them up. Basically, put it in the same way that I said that Fairy made Dragon better. Giving extra weakness, which opens up more build diversity, basically, in Pokemon. You know. I'm a big fan of that kind of thinking, basically. You add a weakness so that you can buff the type. And water is one of the best types in Pokemon. It is... what would it be? I believe it's like 5th or 6th best type in Pokemon, I think it's generally considered. The big four, obviously being Dragon, Fairy, Steel, and Fire. Though Fire is an arguably one, I believe you could make a case for Fire, Ground, or Water being the 4th best type in Pokemon. I think Fire ends up being the 4th, but you could definitely make a case for either of the other two. As well. Although I don't think anyone's taking those top 3 out of their places anytime soon, right? Dragon is obviously Dragon, and the addition of Fairy balanced the type, but it's still probably the strongest type in Pokemon. Fairy is another amazing type, because it counters Dragon being one of its biggest things. It also counters Fighting and Dark, which are also very good types. And Steel is obviously the big shield of the types. It's got so few weaknesses. Its weaknesses are very noteworthy, but it doesn't have many at all. To the point that I kind of count water as a bit of a Steel weakness, personally. Because basically, I definitely used to consider it back in the day. Back in Gen, like, 3, I used to, but back in the early gens, I used to consider water basically a Steel weakness, because Steel used to be resistant to Ghost and Dark as well, which meant that there was not many types that Steel was weak to. There was, like, a couple, but it also didn't have many things that were neutral in it, so I kind of gave the water types you are good against Steel types, because Steel wasn't effective against them, and you are neutral onto Steel types, which, considering the amount of things that was resisted by Steel back in the day, was noteworthy on its own. Right? So, yeah. But yeah, since I don't like rain teams, really, in Pokemon, I've always had a bit of, like, a bias against water. Partially because of how rain kind of mechanically works. What rain is good with. Rain is good for 3 types of Pokemon. As is pretty much every weather, I believe, is good for 3 types of Pokemon. Obviously, Sun is good for fire types, grass types, and I would always consider Dragon type in there as well. Dragon technically goes well into any weather, for reference. With the possible exception of Sand, and obviously the bit of a... It definitely goes well into either of the, like, offensive weathers. Of Sun and Rain. Dragons go very well into those teams. With those. With, obviously, an ice... With a snow team, you're going to have a harder time. But with Rain, the types that benefit are electric and flying, as well as water. But the bit that I've always basically gone, fire types don't get chlorophyll, usually, right? But which means that the mods that get chlorophyll tend to be grass types. Grass types don't get the boost for Sun for damage, they just get the speed. And the power of fire types in the Sun is offset by the them not getting the huge speed boost. Water types get both in Rain. They get, if you've got Swift Swim, which is an absurdly common ability, you get a speed boost in the Rain. In addition to that, you get the power boost in the Rain as well, which is nuts. The other types that are very good in the Rain are flying types, because Hurricane becoming 100% accurate, and electric types for, like, 100% accurate Thunder. Technically not an electric type, but electric type move. Excuse me. With Arcaladon's Electro Shot and things, it's technically not a electric type, but it's electric move that is unique to a dragon type. Which I prefer to use Arcaladon not as a water type, not as a rain team user. He's better on a rain team, absolutely, but I don't think he's needed to be on a rain team. I'm more than happy to run the Assault Vest set with Electro Shot just flat, really. Because you get the special attack boost, so it's not like a move that you could just soak. Like, you can soak it, but you still get a benefit, even if they eat the Electro Shot. With a ground type, so. It's basically like a subpar move into a super powerful move, but yeah, you can do a lot of work with water type users in the Rain. And that's one of the reasons I don't like it. The rain buffs up water types in their entirety just really, really well. There needs to be a chlorophyll that goes on more fire types. As an ability. That's for me personally. All fire should have some other ability that gets boosted in the sun. Not solar power. For fuck's sake, Game Freak, can you just remove the damaging effect of solar power? It's really not needed. It's a little harsh. I think there's not many solar power ones that are good for solar power. Basically, if you think about it, solar power is basically putting a life orb on your Pokemon. That only works in the sun. But also will kill your Mon. So... Rain also has a bunch of abilities you can use that go with Rain. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Rain teams in general, which means it puts a bit of a damper on water types, generally. But water types are very, very good, and there's a lot of water types I really, really like. If you've played any of the Pokemon games, any of the older ones, certainly, you have at least one water type on your team. You do. You just do. Because Surf. That's the big one. You are basically forced to have a water type on your team in the old games because you need Surf. After a certain point, you just need it. So, yeah. So water types always have a place, as far as I'm concerned, on any team. But they've never been my favourites. But I will say I love certain water types. And one water type got my favourite when I did the... do all the Pokemon for every gen, pick your favourite of each type. A water type got my first place in one of the gens. And there are a lot of water types I really like. So, I will say that, yeah. Okay, also for the types, I basically decided to put fish-based food dishes as my tier list. By the way, yes, as you might have noticed already, because we've been sitting on it for a while, there is an E tier on this. There is also an F tier on this. Will specify that. There is an E and an F tier on water types. The water types I dislike a lot. Just as a heads up. But the water types I like a lot as well, to compensate, so. So yeah, let's get into this with Squirtle. Good old Squirtle. And the whole line, to be honest, because I will put the whole line into the tier. Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise, Mega Blastoise, and Gigantamax Blastoise. I like all of them. Anybody who uses Charizard as their starter in Kanto, right? Anybody who's a person like me that likes Charizard, you've got to respect Blastoise. Right? That's just a fundamental thing. You have to respect Blastoise. It's a very, very scary mon in its own right. It gets Shell Smash nowadays, which is really, really good. It's a crazy good mon. If you can use it right. It's just solid. Would be the best description I have for it. And it's just a good all-round mon. Squirtle, the whole line of you. Yeah, I prefer Squirtle to that, but I do like Blastoise a lot. Mega Blastoise is pretty cool too. And G-Max Blastoise, I actively like G-Max Blastoise a shitload. I know a lot of people don't like it. They think it's a bit dumb. I think it's pretty sick. I like the giant battleship vibe for it. So yeah, the whole Blastoise line, A tier. Comfy A tier, right? I don't think you'd ever put them lower. Maybe a B tier, like maybe either high B tier. But no, I think they're an A tier mod. Very solid. Can't really complain about them all. Okay, now Psyduck. This is an interesting part. So Psyduck themselves is meh. For reference, anybody who knows it for me, in how I do these tier lists, C is my average benchmark tier, S is the best of the best of the best, A is amazing, B is very, very good. C is average. D is I don't like this mon. E is I actively hate this mon. F is I wish this Pokemon never existed and the person who made it should feel ashamed that they made it. There are not many F tier Pokemon in total. Water type does have a couple. But yeah, so Psyduck, I'd say is C. It's never been one for me. I get why people like it. I think it's a bit weird that people like it, but I get why people like it, right? Psyduck itself, it's a design. If you really like Goofy, you can't get much goofier than Psyduck. It's the classic Goofy Pokemon, which is fine. But I don't really gel with it that much. It's neat, I guess. And it's a classic. My personal thoughts on Psyduck has always been, it's nice that it's goofy. People love it for nostalgia a lot, obviously. But it's just there. However, I will say Psyduck themselves is significantly better than Golduck. Golduck isn't unique, really, at all. Psyduck at least has a personality, right? It's got the personality. It's got the goofiness. Golduck loses pretty much all the originality that Psyduck has. Psyduck, if they went for Golduck to be a bit more like Psyduck, or if they give Golduck a final evolution. Golduck to me has always seemed a weird, like, middle stage Pokemon. Right? It feels unfinished. The only thing I've ever thought about Golduck in any capacity is, ooh, I need to get special attack IVs. That's it. That's the only thing I've ever thought of Golduck being useful. It's a pretty shit mon. It's not got a good shiny. By the way, if they gave Golduck the same kind of treatment that Psyduck shiny has, Psyduck's got a very good shiny. It turns a nice shade of blue, like Golduck. Golduck should turn gold with his shiny. That would be cool. And that would be like the goose that gives the golden egg and all that kind of stuff. It would be way more unique and interesting. Also, why is Golduck not a psychic type? Come on, Game Freak. Come on. Also, yes, I have seen all the Pokemon leak stuff. I will not be commenting on it for reference. But, yes, I have seen at least a good chunk of the leaks and things. Holy crap. That's all my comments on it. But yeah, I don't like Golduck at all. Really, I don't abjectly hate them on. I just find it very forgettable in a more, like, meh case. It's one of the ones that is vastly outclassed by its pre-evolution, and I'm not a crazy big fan of the pre-evolution. But if you love Psyduck, I absolutely get it. It's coming to Unite soon, which is always fun. But yeah, Golduck is just very, very mediocrely forgettable, and I don't really like it. The Poliwrath line. Specifically the Poliwrath part, because Politoed is actually a later one. Which I actually actively had to move, by the way. On this, because this basically, I format. I try to edit these tier lists to actually be working later on. So that I get it in actual Pokédex order rather than line order, essentially. I try, I occasionally miss one, it's not on me. But yeah, Poliwag, Poliwhirl. Actually, yeah, you're going in here. Poliwag, Poliwhirl, Poliwrath. They are fine. They are fine, is what I'd always call them. I've not particularly used them. I have used Poliwrath a little bit to some success, honestly. It's not a particularly bad mon. I will put them as a solid average benchmark. I think I did this on fighting as well, that I said Poliwrath is like my benchmark average. Poliwrath to me is the exact average bar. Now, for reference, it's other mons being in C tier. Why are they in C tier? Why are they not in D tier if they're below Polyrath? If Polyrath is the exact average bar, because it is my exact average bar, but it's the middle of the C tier. Basically, it's where it should be. Whether it ends up being in the middle of the C tier, we don't know, because how I put these lists, and I kind of do it as I feel at the time. But Polyrath is a fine mon. I've never particularly used the line that much, apart from, again, use Polyrath a little bit. It does work. It does some good work. It's a fairly good, bulky, like, okay attacking mon. You can definitely make it do some very, very fine work. I wouldn't really call it an spectacular mon. But if you want to use it, you can definitely use it. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's great. I think there's significantly better mons. But it's got its uniqueness, right? It's got that kind of vibe that you just kind of like. I will say Politoed is significantly better. Whether I like the design or not, or like the Pokemon, is another thing entirely. But I do think the Politoed is significantly more powerful. It's significantly better in an actual battle. But then again, that's because it has Drizzle, and I hate Drizzle. Well, I don't hate Drizzle, but I don't like rain teams. So, yeah. Okay. Tentacool and Tentacruel. You guys are immediately A tier. And I'm going to be honest, I'm putting them above Blastoise. I love Tentacruel. People know I love Tentacruel, actually. It is a extremely fun mon. I'm happy that I finally had a chance to use it. I used it for reference in my Gen 2 playthrough in PokeMMO, which I did on stream a while back because I love PokeMMO. And I basically did a full playthrough of every single region in PokeMMO. And I decided to use mons not in every case, but in a lot of cases, mons I hadn't really used much. I was trying to use, like, a couple of mons in every single gen that I just hadn't particularly used or hadn't had, like, a chance to really shine. Because, say, they come really late in the generation. Where their, like, base location is and things like that. Just through the main story, for reference, not using for anything too crazy. And Tentacruel was one that I wanted to use for a while, because it's a cool mod. I always liked its design a lot. I thought it was one of the cooler Gen 1 water types. It's pretty fun, and I kind of liked its stats, honestly. It's not got bad stats, and it's got good abilities. It's got Clear Body. I'm a huge fan of Clear Body. Probably more than most people, I'd say. But Clear Body is one of the most sleeper good abilities to me. Particularly if you are a physical attacker or are fast, right? That's always the bit that I've said in Pokemon is a mon is cool and good, and Clear Body, basically, people really underestimate. This is a very common thing. People really underestimate how much a stat downgrade fucks with your Pokemon. Like, think, what is one of the best abilities? Arguably the best ability in Pokemon, right? Arguably the best ability in Pokemon is Intimidate. Enters the field, stat debuff to attack immediately. And one of the other very, very good moves to use in Pokemon is Sticky Web. Lowers the speed. It's a hazard. Lowers speed of your opponent's team, right? Clear Body is immune to both of those. Now, I will say, Clear Body, there's a better version of Clear Body. Mirror Armor from Corviknight, which I regularly use. In fact, that's my default Corviknight set. Has Mirror Armor. Genuinely. It's only bit me in the ass once. Usually, people don't expect abilities like this a lot. Hey, Nixie, thank you for the 3 months sub. It's greatly appreciated. But yeah, I genuinely love Tentacruel. And Clear Body is awesome. It gets Liquid Ooze, which is hilarious, and I always love seeing Liquid Ooze go off. What did I do? I did something dumb with Liquid Ooze before. Oh yeah, this was in an actual playthrough. I don't think it was Tentacruel. I don't remember what it was. But I had him on. I had a Pokemon that had Liquid Ooze. It might have been Tentacruel. I don't know. And I swapped it in on my opponent's Pokemon, and it went for Giga Drain, and nearly killed itself from Liquid Ooze. Which is very funny. And it works on so many things. It works on, like, Bitter Blade in competitive Pokemon, which is very funny to see you swap in on the Fire type and it kills itself. You use it on Drain Punch. It works on Drain Punch as well. Any kind of healing move, it's very funny to do it for. So, yeah. Big fan of Tentacruel. I love its design as well. It just slaps. That's all I can really say. I would love a Mega Tentacruel a lot. I would love either a Mega or a Final Evolution. An extra evolution for Tentacruel. I am fine with it staying as just Tentacruel. And we got Toadscruel, obviously, which is kind of based on it. But I think that Tentacruel would be a really fun mon to get a Mega Evolution. That's the personal one for me. I think it would be a cool one. It's one of those ones that I would prefer a Mega over a third stage. Now, most Pokemon I go, give them a third stage over a Mega. No, for Tentacruel, I kind of think it's fine as is. And giving it a Mega would give it other options. Great one, though. Okay, Slowpoke and Slowbro. Not Slowking. Slowking is later. Slowking is Gen 2, remember. I'm going to put these ones. Yeah, I've never been a big... Okay, here's the bit. I've never been super into Slowpoke and Slowbro. Slowking, I much prefer. I do prefer Slowking as the one. Not a huge fan of it overall, but I prefer it. Slowbro, it's one of those ones I've never particularly been interested in, right? I get that people like it. Just not really for me, you know? It's fine. And it's got a vibe. It definitely has a vibe. But I've always thought of it as a bit... As a mon, really. I don't consider it anything particularly special. It's got a vibe. We'll get to Slowking later. Slowking, I do think they cooked with Slowking. Because of the concept that they put out with Slowbro, to be fair. Because basically Slowbro, that's a cloister, apparently, on its tail. Don't look anything like any cloister I've ever seen, but sure, why not? Is doing it, which, like, balances it out, I think, or something like that. It's fine, but I'm not one that's particularly a fan. And Mega Slowbro, also fine, but nothing special, right? Seal and Dugong, again, C tier, really. I do like Dugong a bit more than Seal. They're fine. That's all I can really say is they are fine. They are not really anything special as far as I'm concerned in Pokemon. I don't dislike them by any means, but I don't find them particularly exciting either. They are just a Seal, to be honest. Which is a vibe for a Pokemon, right? Like, yes, you need the fairly standardized ones. I think Dugong might be the worst Pokemon they added in Blueberry Academy, in Scarvi as well. It's not great. It's not terrible. It is not terrible. It's also got the problem of there's a lot of water ice types in Gen 1. And Dugong, you're going up against one of the coolest water ice types of all time. You just can't really win on this one because you also turn up way too late in the game to be useful. You get Dugong really late in Fire Red Leaf Green, because you find Dugong and Seal in the Ice Cave, which is after Surf and usually after Cinnabar Island as well. They're not guaranteed to be after Cinnabar Island, but more often than not, you're probably going to explore the Ice Cave after beating the Fire Gym, right? I mean, in theory, you could go get it and go get Articuno, I guess. But are you really going to be going for the Dugong? There's better mons that have the same type in the same gen, really. And that's the main issue. There's three Water Ice type lines in Gen 1. And unfortunately, Seal and Dugong, you are the worst of the three by a significant margin. Now I get to the pretty much straight upgrade. A very fun, very unique line. I personally love these mons. I actually really want to use Cloyster at some point. Shelder and Cloyster, immediate A tier. I'm going to put Cloyster right behind Tentacruel. But Shelder I'm putting behind Tentacool. Cloyster is awesome. Shell Smash one of the highest defense stats in Pokemon, by the way. 180 defense. No health whatsoever and no special defense, so it dies immediately to any special attack. But Water Ice type, Shell Smash, Skill Link. Oh, it's a fun mon. It is a very, very fun mon. I am a big fan of Cloyster, and I really want to use Cloyster in something. I'm not really sure what, but I really want to use this mon at some point. It's very cool. That's not going to go. It's neat. It's got a very, very fun vibe to it. It's unique. It's got its own niche. It does what it does better than pretty much any other Pokemon, which I really like. Like, it's one of the better Shell Smash mons for physical, which I do like. I think it's got a great design. I've always liked Cloyster's design. I thought it was sick. It was reminding me of Ghastly, you know? But yeah, I love Cloyster. Cloyster's great. Now, Krabby and Kingler. Now we finally get a B tier mod. I like Krabby and Kingler. It's another one that I kind of wanted to use more. I also love G-Max Kingler. G-Max Kingler goes so hard. Giant old man spider crab. Hell yeah. But Kingler is a really cool mon. Stupid high attack. Like, it's got the attack stat that's... It's got the attacks that you expect of anything that is like, this is a serious physical attacker mon. It's got the same attack stat as Garchomp and Mamoswine, for reference. It's in the big leagues. Kingler is in the big leagues. It's a significantly worse Pokemon than either of those because it's slow and not particularly tanky. But it's got the power. If you can make it work, you can make this thing work. And it goes hard. Like, I use this thing a bit in Poke Rogue, and it's good. It's a good mod. I don't know how its coverage really is. Crab Hammer is also a hysterical move. But it's a fun mon. I'm happy they did something with it. Even if it's a G-Max, which is like the least interesting of the versions, really, to like give an Uber form. The G-Max form is probably the least interesting. But it's still great. I won't put it as an A tier mon, though. It's just fine. But I like it. It's a well-deserving B tier, is what I would call Krabby and Kingler. I know it's just a crab. Right, there's nothing too crazy about it. But it's got a cool design. I also personally think, if they made a Kingler that was water-ground type, I think that would go kind of hard. Because it was in the anime, it was actually one of the Pokemon that was in the ground gym, which is the T-Rocket gym, for reference, because it's just a pretty fairly powerful Kantomon. I think Giovanni might have had one as well. I'm not 100% on that, but it's a fun mon, and I do like it. Okay, Horsey, Seadra... Oh, wait a minute, I've just realised something. Kingdra came in Gen 2, didn't it? 230. Is that behind Quagsire? Yep. Is behind Slow King. Yes, it is. Actually, I've got a feeling it might be quite late. Yeah, it's close to Suicune, so it's gonna be back here or something. Yeah, it's there. It's that spot. Okay. Tiny break for that. But yeah, Horsey and Kingdra, I like both of these mons a lot. They are both fine B tier mons. We will get to it later as to why they're only B tier, for reference. But I will give them their own spots. They are fine. I don't think there's anyone that's really like, oh, I want to use a Seadra real bad. Like, it's awesome. I want to use a Seadra. I want to use a Seadra. It's a fun mon. But you have to remember it is a middle stage. Wasn't originally designed as a middle stage, but they went, now we can make this cooler. It's got like the dragony vibe, which I guess they went for the dragony vibe with all seahorse mons. Right. Pretty much every single seahorse type Pokemon has the dragon typing. Horsey and Seadra don't. But Kingdra does. And Kingdra is an amazing Pokemon. But we'll get to him. Goldeen and Seaking, you're not that special. Again, very meh. Actually, I prefer Goldeen, I think, to Seaking. They are very forgettable. Like, I genuinely forget these are mons a lot of the time. The only really noteworthy thing about Goldeen, in my opinion, is its cry. Genuinely. It's like, Goldeen, Goldeen, Goldeen. Is like the only thing that's noteworthy. Seaking, the only thing noteworthy about it is it gets Horn Drill. They're just not very special Pokemon, really. I don't know anyone who... I couldn't name a single person who says that Seaking is their favourite Pokemon. And that's quite a rarity. Most Pokemon, you can probably find at least one person that loves it. Right? I don't know a single person... I barely know a single person that likes Seaking. Let alone goes, oh, it's my favourite. Or even their top 50 Pokemon. I don't think there's many people who are, even the people who are massive Gen 1 only Pokemon players, would call Seaking as one of their favourites. Sorry, everyone, I just got distracted by Cat. Come on, Arrow. Hello. You okay, boy? Oh. Here he is. Say hello to people, Errol. Do you want to lie down? He's been up on the bathtub all day. Oh, he's purring. Yeah, I got one of the cats. He's an old boy. Aren't you? This is the old one. Hello. You don't usually like it when I'm on stream because I'm loud and talking. You also like to claw people when they're not paying full attention to you. So I'm being very careful for now. Yes. Hey, I'm doing work, Carol. So you go into the kitchen. There's food. Oh, there will be food soon, I'm sure. Yeah, he's a good cat.
He's not.
Yes, he is. Anyway, back to the tier list. So... Oh, hello. Go back. Because no food immediately turned up, did it? Yeah, so Star You and Star Me. I have never used these mons. Genuinely. Which is unfortunate, because they're really cool. I have PTSD about Star Me. I will 100% say that. So, anyone that played Pokemon when it first came out, when they first had the versions of the games in, Misty Star Me, in Pokemon specifically. Now, for reference, she also kicked the shit out of me with her Star Me in the original Fire Red playthrough, because I started with Charmander, and let me tell you, I think she had Psychic in Fire Red against the only grass type which I had on my team, which was Oddish, and this thing was a problem, for reference. I did eventually beat it, for reference, but it was nasty. This mon is scary, and I have immense respect for Starmie. Starmie is terrifying, and I kind of want to use the mon at some point. Because it puts me through so much trauma, but I like it. It's a cool designed mon. Like, it's a starfish, but it's a psychic crystal starfish. They cooked. They cooked with that one. It is a very, very cool mon. It's very powerful. It's just neat, right? It's just awesome. Okay. Technically, we're out of Gen 9 at this point. We're in Gen 9 at the moment for a brief second. Because we've got Paldean Water Tauros. Which is a bit of a strange one to come up with in the middle of Gen 1, but it's technically the same Pokemon. It's just a regional form. We've got Paldean Tauros Water. Or Aqua. Aqua Breed, I believe it's called in-game. It's a cool mon. I love all the Paldean Tauroses. People know I do. For me, this mon is a solid A tier. It's not my least favorite. I've actually used this thing a little bit now. I was doing some Pokemon Showdown. I was doing some National Dex doubles, right? And I needed a mon that was both fighting type, that had Intimidate, and I kind of wouldn't have minded a water type as well. Paldean Water Tauros actually ticked all those boxes. So I built a very tanky setup, Assault Vest support Tauros. Which was kind of fun to use. I will say, it was very, very neat. It was a bit weird, but it actually did some serious work. It was super... I put it max health, max special defense. Gave it an Assault Vest, so it could take special hits all day. It's got okay special defense, nothing crazy, but it's got okay. And, max special defense with an Assault Vest, it's very respectable. And it does work. Like, Paldean Water Tauros does some work. And with Intimidate, lowering the physical defense, it's got good physical defense off... Physical attack, sorry. It's got good physical defense off the bat. It's got good physical attack off the bat. It's pretty fast. And it gets a lot of good support moves. So, yeah, Paldean Water Tauros, you're pretty fun, I will say. It was also hilarious watching someone set up a screen to get it immediately Raging Bold. Like, it was a support set, but it was a support set that could do a lot of damage, obviously, because it was also a... it's a Tauros, which Tauros hits fairly hard off the bat. Also, it was... since there was Assault Vest, it was all attacking moves. So, it did work. It did some fun work. It was a nice little bruiser. Little bruisery mon. Wasn't there to do damage at all, though, for reference. It's because I didn't want to use Gyarados, as much as I love Gyarados. I didn't want to use Gyarados again with this particular one. Anyway, we're speaking Gyarados. Magikarp, you're an immediate A tier. You're Goofy done correctly. Gyarados, you're an immediate S tier, and Mega Gyarados, again, immediate S tier. Gyarados, I've talked about this before. Gyarados is one of my favourite mons. It's one of my favourite water types. I love Gyarados. Gyarados is my second favourite Gen 1 water type. And one of my most used water-type Pokemon, genuinely. I use this in, I don't remember if I used Gyarados in my original Fire Red run. I've definitely had Gyarados in multiple runs of Pokemon. And I definitely had it a lot of my early Pokemon runs, but I don't know if it was my OG run. Because I remember the water type... my voice cracked. For Gen 1, I quite often used Vaporeon. I remember it's just my first ever playthrough I used Vaporeon, I think. But Gyarados was like on my second playthrough. Because it was back in the day with games and things like that. Also, my first ever Pokemon Mo run had Gyarados as my water type. I love this mod. It's always good, right? Gyarados is always... it is the old reliable of Pokemon. That's what I'll always call Gyarados. Gyarados is just good. It's never a bad mon. It's never a bad option. It's a very powerful, very, very strong mon that's always going to have a place, right? It's never the best mon ever. It's never going to be the worst either. And I like Gyarados. I love its design. It's the big sea serpent. Really should have been dragon type. Game Freak, I'm blaming you on that. But the fact that it's water flying actually gives it a lot of advantages as well. Obviously, quad weak to quad weak to electric, but gives it gives it resistance to grass. The water gives it resistant to a lot of the problems that flying has. Does very, very well. The only weaknesses it's got is quad weak to electric, which destroys Gyarados. Also is weak to rock, which is a problem. So yeah, Gyarados is amazing. And Mega Gyarados is very good. I do like Mega Gyarados a lot. It's got a vibe. Right, I also like it being a dark type because, one, it's immune to Prankster, always fun. Two, it actually gets stab on all the biting moves. Like, Gyarados always been a classic bitey Pokemon, but never had stab on it. I would have loved if Gyarados had the option for Strong Jaw. I actually would have loved if Mega Gyarados had Strong Jaw instead of Mold Breaker, but yeah, I like Mold Breaker. So yeah, Gyarados and Mega Gyarados, very fun ones. Always happy to use them. Get the classic setup of, like, Waterfall or Liquidation. You basically put one of those two on the guy always. Usually Earthquake. I like to add Crunch to them as well. Particularly good on Mega Gyarados. And then Dragon Dance because it's Dragon Dance, let's be honest. But Gyarados is just great, and I'm a big fan of the mod. You can also run Gyarados in about 150,000 different ways, and they're all good. Genuinely. As long as you basically rely not on its special attack. Its only really bad stat is its special attack. For Gyarados, it's got okay speed, okay bulk, good attack. It's just good. But yeah, Gyarados is awesome. Now for the next one, Lapras. Probably my third favourite of the Gen. Gen 1 it has some real cracked water types when you start getting to the later on in the list. Lapras is another S tier mod. It just is. And G-Max Lapras. G-Max Lapras, for reference, is probably my favourite. Actually, I think I said it was my second favourite Gigantamax mod, right? My favourite Gigantamax mod is Charizard. I love G-Max Charizard. I love Charizard. That's the main one. I love Charizard. I love G-Max Charizard because it's a giant fiery dragon. I'm a huge dragon fan in general, as everybody knows. And Charizard just ticks every box. And G-Max Charizard ticks every box. But my second favourite is G-Max Lapras. Because Lapras is such an awesome Pokemon. I've used Lapras a lot as well. Lapras is great. genuinely just... I talked about it in the ice tier list ages ago. Lapras is one of my favorite ice types, and it just slaps as a Pokemon. I absolutely love it. I have huge respect for anyone who uses Lapras. Bunny might actually use this. They use Lapras to beat my gym, entertainingly, in the Pokemon tournament. The gym leader tournament that is still going on. We haven't done anything of it for a while because we've all been busy. But in the gym leader tournament, one of the challengers has a Lapras on their team. Because Lapras, entertaining enough, actually gets two one-hit KO moves. It gets Horn Drill and it gets Sheer Cold. Meaning that Lapras gets two one-hit KOs, which is almost unique. There's not many mons that get two. But they did, and it was very fun. Honestly, it was a very, very fun mon. But they basically had a choice banded... Against me, they had a choice banded Lapras. Is there? Choice banded with Ice Shard. And I'm the Dragon Gym leader. It would have swept me on the first time if it wasn't the fact that he unfortunately ran into Archaludon. Yeah. Things ended very poorly. On the first go-through for them. Because basically, they did eventually manage to down my Archaludon in that match. But by that point, the Archaludon had downed most of their team. And all of their answers for everything else. And they couldn't really answer it. They did win on the second time, though, because they knew more how to deal with the Archaludon. If memory serves, they were forced to switch in on a Electro Shot, which turned whatever mon they had, which I believe was they had to switch their Lapras in on the Electro Shot. It turned their Lapras to ashes. Yeah, Lapras, you're bulky. You're not bulky enough to attack an Electro Shot from a max special attack Archaludon of the same level as you. Yeah. But Lapras, fantastic mon. I'm a big fan of it. One of the coolest water ice types as well. Just outright. Water ice is used to be a very common type. I don't think there's that many water ice types later on. Just gonna look through. There's another one. There's one. Yeah, there's not been many since Gen 1, but there were a lot in Gen 1. And there's been like 2 or 3 lines since then. But hey, it's cool. And Lapras is a good one. Lapras is the water ice type, let's be fair as well. We know where it is, where you're going. Did you know? But no, I genuinely love Vaporeon. Vaporeon is an awesome Pokemon. Such a fun one to use. I find all the evolutions incredibly cute. Let's be honest. They're all absolutely adorable. And I have a particularly soft spot for Vaporeon because it was my first ever evolution. In Pokemon Fire Red, my first ever playthrough as a child, I had a Vaporeon on my team. It was an absolute classic. It was my Surfmon. It served me really, really well. I just have a soft spot for this one. Do you want to go in the kitchen, Errol? Yes, you do. Okay, back in a second, guys. Oh, no, wait upstairs. Okay. But yeah, I absolutely love Vaporeon because, yeah, I have a soft spot for it from from me playing Gen 1. And it's just such a fun one. And I find it cute. Genuinely, it's the fish cat. It's adorable. Also, all the memes, obviously, Vaporeon's very famous. But it's just a fun Pokemon, right? And its stats are amazing, let's be honest. Vaporeon has one of the best stat lines of any evolution. I think quite often it ends up being the best evolution. It's certainly one of the best, if not the best evolution, in terms of actually using it for battle. Mostly because it's got respectable special attack, and it's very tanky. So it kind of does the both, it does sword and shield aspects, basically. It's a tanky mon that hits hard, which a lot of the other evolutions do one or the other. But Vaporeon actually does both. It lacks on speed. I think it's the slowest evolution. I'm pretty sure it's the slowest. It's between it and Glaceon, and neither one of them is particularly fast. But Vaporeon is one of my favourite evolutions, and I always have a very, very soft spot for the thing. It's extremely cute. As every single EV is S tier immediately. You all know it is. Praise Lord Helix! Speaking of Lord Helix, Omastar and Omanite, you're getting B tier. I don't think you're really worth A tier. But you're both very fun ones. I love all fossil Pokemon. Pretty much every fossil is getting an okay review. I think even on Moldo, which might be my least favourite fossil mon, is fine. But Omastar and Omanite are pretty neat. And I will go Kabuto and Kabutops. You're actually my front runners on B tier at the moment. I love these things. I have never got them to do anything good, I will say. Kabutops is not a good mon. I wish it was. But it's really not. It's too slow, even to make real use out of Swift Swim. You might be able to use its Shell Armor. To some good effect if it wasn't a Water-Rock type, which is not a good combo. Particularly not a good combo for a slow Pokemon. It's unfortunate. But I do like it. I think the design is absolutely sick. Give me a second. I've been handed more blankets. Because it is getting chilly and I've got some new comfy blankets. It's got stars and moons on them. Hell yeah. I'm literally in a blanket heap. As I usually am. But yeah, that's finally Gen 1's water type done. For reference, every single gen has a lot of Pokemon in it for water types. Water and poison, I think, are the most common types in Gen 1 as well. So Kanto is full of fish and waste. But yeah. Okay. Totodile! Y'all know that Totodile's getting a great score. Totodile, Crocodile, and Feraligatr. Totodile is S tier. Crocodile is A tier. I will say, I'm not a huge fan of Crocodile. Feraligatr is also S tier. Behind Gyarados, I will say, behind Gyarados, I like Gyarados a bit more. But Feraligatr is an awesome mon. If it's your favorite Pokemon, I get it. I absolutely get it. I know a lot of people that it's their favorite starter. For me, it is probably my favorite water starter is between two. It's between two for my favorite water starter Pokemon. Feraligatr really, really hits. I'm trying to look through the water starters to see if there's any that compare. Yeah, it's between two, and it's not close. Those two are significantly ahead of the rest of the pack. But Feraligatr is an awesome Pokemon. It's very, very good as well. It actually gets Sheer Force, which is one of the best standardized abilities in Pokemon. Particularly when you give it a Life Orb. So Sheer Force, Life Orb for Alligator is very fun to use. It gets Dragon Dance. I really, really hope this mod gets a Mega. This is one of the ones I want a Mega form for. I hope it's one of the starters for Legends ZA when that comes out. It was so cool. And yeah, it's also one of the reasons why I would love to do a water-only run of Gen 2. Feraligatr is one of the big reasons for that. For reference, I love Feraligatr a lot, but I don't really use water-type starters. And I prefer Typhlosion. I will say, I do prefer Typhlosion a bit to Feraligatr. But that's actually one of the close ones. I like Feraligatr a lot. And Feraligatr is also one of the ones, it got better the further into Pokemon we got. Every time we get a new Pokemon game, Feraligatr gets a little bit better. Which I'm also happy about, because it deserves it. It's an awesome Pokemon. So. Chinchou and Lantern, you're both fine. I put you high C tier, I think, is a good bet. Because you're pretty cool. I like the little the electric anglerfish is cool. I like they made like kind of a goofy vibe for it as well. It's really easy to make an anglerfish be a super scary option, right? It's really easy to give it like the horror aspect, or to make it like nightmare-y. And then Pokemon Company just went, nah, we're gonna make him a goofy little guy. Just a silly little guy. And I respect him for that. And Lantern is a very neat Pokemon. Really gets Water Absorb and Volt Absorb. It's very fun for that. I don't know. It's just kind of silly. In a very fun way. So yeah, I do very much like Chinchou and Lantern. But I will put them in average tier because they aren't quite enough to get into B. They're a high C, though. They are a very, very high C. But I wouldn't quite give them B tier. They're not quite there, but they're close. Marill and Azumarill, you are both also C. I know people love these mons. In fact, Marill, you're going above Azumarill. And very much so. These things get huge power. What more do you need, right? They get Belly Drum and huge power, I suppose. They get Belly Drum, huge power, and priority. They are very, very scary mons. I personally just have a bit of beef with them. Because I've always said, if a standard mon has huge power or pure power or any equivalent of that, then they're getting it to compensate for something. In the case of Azumarill, it's got no attack, basically. It's not a good attacker if it doesn't have huge power. It's awful. It's a really bad mon. And I don't often like relying on Pokemon just for their ability. I like them to have a good ability, don't get me wrong. With the exception of Contrary, because Contrary is hilarious. But I don't like relying entirely on this Pokemon is only here for its ability and it has literally zero other use. Which is literally the thing about Azumarill. Without huge power, this one would never be taken. Ever. It wouldn't even be a consideration. It's just kind of bad. Now sure you get Sap Sipper, which I guess is kind of nice. But... And Thick Fat, which is probably the most pointless move ever. It's probably the worst ability you could possibly get on a water type. It's just a bit strange. So yeah, they've got that going for them, which is fine. And Azumarill and Marill is very cute. Marill is a very, very cute mod. But I don't really vibe with them personally. For instance, I don't know if I've ever lost the game to an Azumarill, but it's come damn close. Azumarill is really, really scary. I've already lost a game outright to one because of how powerful it can be with huge power belly drum. But I don't know how many games I've actually outright lost to the thing. Mostly because I personally think that most people are way too aggressive with Azumarill. If I were them, I'd run it out like last and use it as my final sweeper. Rather than trying to just sweep with it immediately. But hey, I guess they want to get that the belly drum off as soon as possible, right? Politoed is very good. It's got a cool design, because frog. But I dislike it compared to Poliwrath, I'm going to be honest. Mostly because you bring Politoed. Politoed is the Ninetales, I will say, of rain Pokemon. Right? It is solid, pretty good, does a lot of work. However, in the same way as Ninetales, there is a better choice. For reference, I love Ninetales. And Ninetales, for me, does the job better. And is way better designed than Politoed. Of their respective things. Because Ninetales is obviously the fast Sunsetter. Of the Drought Pokemon. And Politoed is the fast quotation marks Rain Setter. With the Ninetales, you usually would use Torkoal instead because kind of better. And instead of Politoed, you'd rather run the fuck's its name? Pelipper. But whereas Ninetales, there's a good reason to run Ninetales over Torkoal. Ninetales has better default special defense, I believe. Pretty good health still. And a good attack stat. And it's pretty fast. Right? Whereas Torkoal is very slow. Ninetales is pretty fast. So you can get some advantages there. Whereas Politoed, I don't think is... I think it might be 100 speed. I don't know. Politoed is 70 speed. So it's okay. It's below average by a decent margin. But it's not a slow mon, but I would not call it a fast mon. Right. And that, unfortunately, doesn't quite cut it. It's got decent special attack. And it's, again, better than Poliwrath. In terms of competitive. But I don't think its design is as good. I honestly, for me, like, yes, Poliwrath is just Poliwhirl, but angry. Now, if they had made it originally the frog, Final Evo, I think I'd like it more. but it feels like it's a patch job. That they've gone, we're not happy with this. Let's try again, and yeah, that's what Polytoad is. But hey, if you like it, you like it. I know a lot of people that use Polytoads. It's fine. But it's just eh. It's just eh. Oh yeah, I forgot one of the other advantages of Sun. Now that Gen 9 is a thing and the Paradox Mons exist, Sun is significantly better than Rain. But Rain actually is managing to keep up with Sun, despite Sun having the better Pokemon. So I think that's kind of a thing of, you kind of need to tweak Rain a little bit. Make Rain weaker. The fact that it can keep up with the massive boost that Sun just got of having some of the strongest Pokemon ever added to its roster. Wooper! Wooper's an immediate A tier. We all know it. Same with Quagsire, but Quagsire is going here. I genuinely love Wooper and Quagsire. They are both very cool mons. I've used Quagsire a little bit, not too much. I kind of need to use it more. I will say I prefer Clodsire to Quagsire. Paldean Wooper is genius as far as design philosophy goes. But Quagsire is very good, don't get me wrong. Very irritating wall of a Pokemon. It's pretty nice to have. Pretty good counter against a lot of people, against what I like to play as well. I rarely end up running grass moves. And it's the only real counter to it. Unless you have Freeze Dry. Which I do quite often run special attacking ice types, I will say. But still. It's pretty tanky as well. Hits fairly hard. Like, hits decently hard. With its moves. So yeah. Very, very good mon. All round. Not really a lot to say about it. It's got good design. I talked about it in the ground type tier list. Good design. Good power. Good competitive use. Just good. Just good all around. Slow King. Now, yeah, I did say I would go back to Slow King, give it a bit more of a rank. Slow King, B tier. I do like Slow King's design. I like its lore a bit. I like how it always appears in the anime as well. Where it basically can obviously talk because the point of a Slow King... Basically, the Slowbro is like that because it can't handle its massive intelligence, right? Slow King, basically, the cloister that's bitten onto its head instead of its tail is meaning that it can actually, like, focus its thoughts. It's like a, kind of an amp, I guess, or a... like lightning rod for its own brain, which means it can focus itself better. So it's much more intelligent, obviously, still, but it can actually contain it, and I like that for an idea for a Pokemon. So I very much do like Slow King, massively more than Slowbro. Yeah, I think it works. It really does work. Quillfish, yep, shit. I'm gonna be honest. You don't deserve E or F tier. Feel proud of that fact. I might have given it in the poison type tier list. I don't remember. But I don't like this Smon. It doesn't do anything interesting. The Hisuian version, significantly cooler. Hisuian Quillfish, awesome Pokemon. Really good design. Just clicks better. Better colour scheme. And it has an evolution. Quillfish on its own, regular one, it has no purpose. It needs an evolution. Hisuian is just better in every way, genuinely. That's all I can really say about it. I don't like regular Quillfish. God, we've got so many mons to do. I'm already tired, Jesus. Corsola, love you. Really want to use this one at some point. I'll give it A tier. I like Corsola a lot. I really want to use it. I know it's not crazy good. It's water rock type, not particularly fast. But it's cool and I really want to try it. I want to use this mon so badly, but I've never had the chance. But I will use it in something at some point. Again, it's one of the reasons why I would love Gen 2. If I could get Gen 2 on the monotype run. If I get rock or water, which are the 2 types that I want a lot, for Gen 2, I will have a Corsair on the team. I prefer to use it on a rock team because it's a water type then. Meaning that I get access to Surf without a stand-in mon, which is pretty fun. Okay, Remoraid and Octillery. You are 2 very forgettable Pokemon to me. I'm not a huge fan of either of you particularly. You're both there. I want there to be a better Octopus specifically mon. Yes, there's Malamar, but Malamar's a squid. Let's be honest. And Malamar's an awesome Pokemon. I want there to be a better Octillery. Oh, there's Grapplockt, I suppose. But, you know what I mean? A better water-type one. Or give Octillery an evolution. It feels, again, middle-stagey. It feels middle-stagey. Which, to be fair, a lot of Gen 2 Pokemon do feel middle-stagey. Or pre-Evos. Which, to be fair, they realised and started making more evolutions for them. Like, take Farigiraf and things like that. They are figuring that out. But I hope they do that with Octillery as well, because I think it would have a cool evolution. Mantine. Mantine's neat. I love Manta Rays. Manta Rays are awesome. So I will put you here. Another one that I kind of want to try, honestly. Water flying type, I believe, actually does fly as well, unlike Gyarados. Pretty okay all round. Nothing too special. But kind of fun. And I'd kind of like to try it. But yeah, I can't really give it like a huge one because I would like to try it. I'm not like, I need to try this tomorrow. It's just neat. Apologies. Kingdra. Kingdra. Kingdra's immediate S tier, let's be honest. A very fun, very go-to water type for me. Used to be my favourite water type. Has fallen off in recent years, but Kingdra was for a little while my favourite water type. And very fun mon all around. The second dragon type ever added to Pokemon. Or the second dragon type line, I guess, added to Pokemon. And it's still pretty good to this day. Kingdra is a not bad Pokemon. Admittedly, it's only really good on a rain team, which is very unfortunate, which does count against it. But it's still a fun mon all around. So. Suicune. Everybody loves Suicune. Suicune, you are a well-deserving of A tier. I'd say here. I think I prefer Paldean and Taurus a little bit more. Suicune is awesome. Everybody knows it. It's got a downside of it's kind of annoying to use. Really, but it's still good. And it's fun as well. But it's annoying because you can only really run Suicune one way with like a calm mind. Like a slow, methodical, calm mindset. There's no way to really run it. So. Which, to be fair, is fine. Someone should be like that. But wish I had a couple extra options. Okay, we're actually on Gen 3. We've only been an hour and a half. We're on Gen 3 of 9. Mudkip. Marshtomp, Swampert, and Mega Swampert. Now, there's a secret about the Mudkip line for me. So there's a buddy of mine whose favourite Pokemon, when we were younger, was Swampert. And they beat me regularly with Swampert. Swampert was their ace Pokemon. Don't know if it still is. I haven't talked to the person for a while. But real old friend of mine. The only one I used to play Pokemon with. Didn't used to see him too often because they lived massively far away. But when we did, one of the things we would play a lot is Pokemon. And they fucking loved Swampert. Swampert was their ace. Like Garchomp nowadays is my ace. Swampert is their ace. And they used it a lot. And I'm obliged to dislike the Pokemon because it's a very good mon. And they did a lot of work with it. So because it's a bit of like childhood enmity, it poisons my opinion of Swampert a bit. But even with that, you gotta respect, Swampert's a really cool Pokemon. Swampert's one of the best starters ever. It actually has the highest stat total of any starter. Because Game Freak favoritism. And Mega Swampert is, one, crazy broken. Get Swift Swim, it's obscene. And it looks awesome. I like that they went the Hulk kind of look to it. It slaps. Mega Swampert's awesome. I have lost a fair few games to this thing. If you go into Nat decks, and you come up against the Rain team, it's probably got a Swampert on it, and it's probably a Mega Swampert. This thing is horrifying. Is very worthy of respect. But yeah, it's not going to get S tier because it's me. But it is a very, very, very well-deserving A tier. Lotad, Lombre, Ludicolo, you're all B tier. You're all great. Wouldn't call you the best mons ever, but you've got a vibe. Right? You have a very, very fun vibe. It's one of those, it's not really for me, but I absolutely get it. And I get it and I smile. Every time I think of Ludicolo, I get a bit of a grin. And I love the dance that it does. Particularly in Scarvi, it also does it. It's a winner. Okay, Pelipper. Wingull and Pelipper. Wingull is pretty much one of the poster childs for a bad Pokemon. But I will say, in fact, no, I'm putting you lower. But they are a deserving C tier. But that's because they're a very, very strong mon. Stronger than it has any right to be, honestly. Mostly because this thing's just quite tough. And it gets Drizzle. I don't like it because I see this thing way too fucking much, and it's aggravating. It's an aggravating support Pokemon, basically. So yeah, it's fine, but I have a distaste for Wingull, personally. And Pelipper, it's just... These mods are just aggravating, really, would be the best description I have for them. But hey, they're not bad. Surskit is cute. He also, I believe, goes, ah! Is its call in the anime, which is great. Which immediately gets it B tier on its own. It's very cute. Okay, Carvana and Sharpedo. You know you're getting S tier. I'm a huge fan of sharks, in general. I have used Sharpedo in a run. I used it in my go back and play the games. I had it in Emerald because in Pokemon Mo specifically was the one I used it in. Because I wanted to use a different water type to usual. So in Gen 3, my favorite water type was an option. Right? And I always use one particular water type. I basically grab a Gyarados and use Gyarados as a holdover until I can get access to this other Mon. That other Mon is obscenely hard to get, for reference. Anybody who both knows me or knows Pokemon in general immediately knows what I'm talking about when I say Gen 3 obscenely hard to get water type. But yeah. And in this particular run, I wanted to do something a bit different. I like Sharpedo. I've never particularly used it before. I didn't really know what it was good at. Turns out what it's good at is it's a glass cannon. It is one of the biggest glass cannon mons of all time. It's basically like squishier Blaziken. It's squishy water dark Blaziken. Will be the best description for it. For reference, Blaziken's also pretty squishy. So it's very squishy. But Sharpedo is fast and it hits hard. Which is very good. And I also want to try using Mega Sharpedo at some point because I've got an idea of how... I think I've got an idea of how to run the thing. To the best of its ability, essentially. I think what you want to do is you want to Sword Stance it on the first turn. Or Protect. One of the two. And then do that on the next turn, assuming they'll do it again. Or you just Sword Stance immediately, or Protect immediately, and basically then get its speed boost up. Basically, the real winner is you Sword Stance, then Protect. So then you get 2 speed boosts up, and then Mega Sharpedo is the Mega Evolution, because the Mega Evolution doesn't have speed boost anymore. It has Strong Jaw instead. Which, by the way, props to Mega Sharpedo for being the only Dark type to get Strong Jaw. Currently, that needs to be on more things. It's basically double stab on bite moves, because most of the biting moves are Dark type moves. So, it's got... Mega Sharpedo has a power, I believe, 160 crunch. An effective power 160 crunch. Which is horrifying. From something that has that attack stat of a Mega Sharpedo. So... it's pretty bananas. But I really like the Mon. It's very cool. I like regular Sharpedo's design slightly more than Mega. The Mega is got a vibe. It's a little... it's not over-designed. I wouldn't call it exactly over-designed. It's very close to over-designed. But Mega Sharpedo's, like, cleanness kind of just wins out for me. Very deserving, yes. Wailmer and Wailord. Wailord, the, like, second, third biggest Pokemon ever. Wailmer, you're pretty neat. I've kind of wanted to use you properly at some point. So I think I'll put you there. And Wailord, exactly the same. I want to use this thing at some point for a Choice Scarfed, max speed, max special attack, water spout build. At some point. I think that'd be kind of fun. Like maybe run something with Choice... basically go double Choice Scarf. Something to set up Tailwind. Like if I could get a... I don't know, Choice Scarf, a... Pelipper, I guess. Choice Scarf, Drizzle, Drizzle to get in the rain, Tailwind up, go ham. Wailord would be pretty fun, I think, as an idea. Massive health bar. No real defenses to speak of, but it's got a lot of health. Barbara and Whiskash, you're fine. Are you B tier? Are you low B tier or just C? Are you C tier just behind Lantern? I kind of like Whiskash. I think I talked about this on the ground type video. It's weirdly alright. Mostly gets Dragon Dance and Earthquake with Stab, which is pretty fun. This thing is cooler than it has any right to be. It gets a C tier from me, but it's like an okay C tier. It's got a vibe. I wish it wasn't as goofy looking. I would love a Final Evolution extra version, which makes it a little scarier or something. A little cooler design. I really like its design, and the design honestly loses a lot of points for me. It's a bit goofy. But everything else about it, I think it's kind of cool. Ah, yes. Corfish and Crawdaunt, you're B tier. Crawdaunt's very fun as an idea. The adaptability mon, adaptability, it's got Dragon Dance, it gets Aqua Jet. It's got pretty good attack, I think it's 125, 115, 125 attack, something like that. It's pretty cool. I like the idea of it a lot. I've never particularly used this mon, but this is a mon that I wouldn't mind using. Okay. Feebas. Where do I put Feebas? Okay. Diet Magikarp. You go in A tier next to regular Magikarp. So, the reason why this Pokemon is this high up, for being a awful Pokemon that is generic as fuck. Excuse me. You earn a special medal from me, Feebas, for being, while you are one of the most aggravatingly bad Pokemon ever, who is one of the most biggest pain in the asses to catch, you do eventually turn into one of my two favorite water types. Because Milotic is an immediate top of S tier. Milotic is one of my two favorite water types. It might be my favorite. It was classically my favorite. It is extremely between two. It is extremely between two. I love Milotic so much. I've used it in so many playthroughs. Including older games, by the way, as well. For reference, Milotic in older games is one of the most aggravating Pokemon to get in all the games. In later gens, they made it a lot easier. And I used Milotic on my DLC run of Pokemon Scarlet Violet. For the first DLC, Milotic was my water type. I love the mon. It's absolutely beautiful. I love the mon. From the first time I saw it in the anime, I thought this mon was really cool. It's very much designed to be kind of like special, tankier Gyarados, right? It isn't quite as good as Gyarados. It's comparable, I'd say, though. I think it's designed to be defensive Gyarados. Which is a vibe, and it's very good at it. I was always amazed that it actually went down to a surprisingly low tier, honestly, in Pokemon. Because I always really rated the thing. But, hey, it happens, right? Because it gets, like, Miracle Scale, so you basically... It gets Guts for defense, I believe, basically. You can give it Aqua Ring, which is great on it, because it's massive health pool and defenses. I always like you running it modest, though. I always had a bit of a weird one where I built it basically into... I kind of gave it the same kind of thing as Vaporeon. I built it into a bulky special attacker. It's one of the few ones that still gets Scald as well in the new gens. Which is very, very nice. So it does a very, very good job of being that, like, kind of concrete wall to deal with a lot of things. Get great coverage as well. Gets ice moves, dragon moves. Obviously still gets Scald. Gets good defensive moves. I think it gets recovery as well. It's just good. Oh, also, how I like to run it. So most people run it, that I've seen a lot of people run it, like, competitive, right? How I run Milotic, I've seen most people run it, Marvel scale, or Miracle scale, whatever the fuck it's called. I run mine competitive, because then it hits harder, which is very fun. And it makes Milotic a genuine threat. What a cast form. You're fine. I barely think of cast form. You're there. Let's keep you there. Why not? Spheal! That's all I can say. Just scream Spheal. The middle one, I can't remember the name of you. You're fine, I guess. Is it literally Celio or something like that? It's something. Walrein, though, it's middle evolution, let's face it. Walrein is great. I really want to use Walrein as well, honestly. I wouldn't mind getting Ice type in Gen 3 too, so I can use Walrein if I get in the Monotype runs. I've never really used it. I know it's fun from a lot of people. Sorry, need to stretch my back. But Walrein is a very fun mon. It's massively bulky. It hits pretty hard. Just alright all round, really. It's kind of neat. Also, I believe its unique ability, its unique move is Ice Ball, which is roll out by ice, which is pretty funny. I remember seeing a very fun episode of the anime with it, which was always cool. Yeah, there was a really cool episode of the anime which involved a Walrein, which was basically, it was a doubles battle between Ash and some guy, I don't remember. But the guy was a water trainer, and he had a Quagsire and a Walrein against Grovyle, against Ash's Grovyle and Ash's Pikachu. And this is one of the weird ones that sticks in my brain for some reason. I haven't watched Pokemon the anime in 20 years, probably. But for some reason, parts of this battle just sticks in the brain. It was pretty cool, and I liked it. So yeah, there's that. I know I've immense respect for the terror that is Walrein after playing Pokemon Mo a few times and playing Emerald, and the Walrein is a problem. So yeah. Clamperl, you're adorable. That's literally all you have going for you, though. But that does get you a fair few points. Huntail and Gorobis are... they exist. I would put them there because they've got good designs each. They've got kind of a sea snake build, which I quite like. And they're based on, I believe, moray eels or different types of eel, which is a vibe. And I really wish that more Pokemon use that kind of animal as a baseline. Because eels are really, really cool mons. So... Relicanth, same kind of thing. You get in B tier, you get a little higher than those. But, in fact, no, Relicanth you get in here. I love Relicanth. It sucks. I will absolutely say, Relicanth is an awful mod. Water Rock, which again, not a good type combo. Does get Swift Swim, Head Smash... also, Rockhead Head Smash. Unfortunately, it's so damn slow. Even with Swift Swim, it's still not fast. It's tanky, but it's got a quad weakness, so it doesn't matter. I love Relicanth, but it's a sucky Pokemon. It's so bad. Love Disc? Okay. Love Disc, you're going in D tier. What is your point? This mon needs an evolution. Right? Drastically needs an evolution. It's not good. Because it was only useful for heart scales in the past, right? But heart scales now no longer a thing, or at least they're not a thing that helps you with like move remembering and things. So, because of that, Love Disc has literally no purpose. None. It's arguably the worst Pokemon in Pokemon. And it has no real redeeming factors. It's kind of fast, I guess. But not great. Okay, Kyogre, you know where you're going. Kyogre may be my least... Oh, Origin Kyogre, even higher, by the way, as well. Origin Kyogre might be my least favourite of the Weather Trio, but the Weather Trio is one of my favourite trios in Pokemon. Just because I like Groudon more, and I love Rayquaza. Rayquaza was one of my favourite Pokemon. Kyogre is a deserving S tier, and it's a good S tier as well. Apologies. Yeah. Kyogre goes so hard. And Primordial Kyogre. Jesus, that Pokemon looks awesome. Primal Kyogre. Not Primordial. It's got Primordial C is why. It's awesome. It is not as cool as Groudon, unfortunately. But it's nowhere near as cool as Rayquaza. But Kyogre is still an absolutely awesome Pokemon. Okay, Svigard. Your Pokemon is finally getting reviewed. I know it's one of your favourites. Piplup to Empoleon. I will put you in A. I think you're deserving of A tier. I'm not really a huge fan of Prinplup. I'll put Prinplup about here. I don't think its design is that good. Empoleon, however. Empoleon is awesome. Only Water Steel type in existence, which is amazing to me, honestly. But Empoleon is a sick Pokemon. Love that they changed it to competitive, which is significantly better since it is a special attacker. It's a very, very good mon. Very tanky. I didn't realize it was actually supposed to be a tank mon. I guess I should have, because it's a steel type, when most steel types are tanks. But it's really cool. So, yeah. So I do very much like it. It is a fun idea. Excuse me. Yawning. Bibarel! Bibarel, you are getting a high score in the C tier purely due to you having Simple. Bibarel is the only water normal type in existence. And it gets Simple. That's the noteworthy things about it. Also, it's the evolved Bidoof, which I guess is its own kettle of fish. But, yeah. I don't really think much of it. Same with Floatzel and... I don't remember your name, actually. Buizel. Buizel and Floatzel are good mons. Like, Floatzel is obscenely fast. It's like it's on every rain team. In... like, lower tiers. Because this thing is absurdly fast. It can actually outspeed a Regieleki, I believe. Inside Swift Swim. It's also one of the mons that can outspeed Trick Room. It's a very fast mon that with Swift Swim gets absurdly fast. I mean, it's decently hard. It's nothing crazy. Usually Choice Bandit, to my knowledge, to give it that extra power that it doesn't usually have. You also give it Aqua Jet. It's just really, really fast Pokemon, essentially. Shellos. Immediate B tier. They look pretty cool. However, Gastrodon. I always use the pink Gastrodon purely because it's the one that Cynthia uses. But Gastrodon is S, probably, for me. In fact, you know what? Because I use the pink Gastrodon, because Cynthia's Gastrodon, the pink one I will put in S tier. The blue one I will put in A tier. I genuinely love Gastrodon a lot. Gastrodon is an awesome Pokemon. Really fun. One of on my first non-draft league team. Excuse me, I'm yawning a lot. I went and did work today, is the main bit. Oh, I was helping my uncle out with, like, painting, decorating kind of stuff, and I did a lot of physical work, so I'm a little tired. But yeah, I used Gastrodon on my first ever competitive Pokemon team that wasn't for the draft league. And Gastrodon's good. It just is. Storm Drain is an awesome ability. I believe my one was like a special defensive wall with Ice Beam, Earth Power, Stealth Rocks, and Recover, I believe, with leftovers on. And it was a really, really good mod. It's just good. And I do like Gastrodon a lot. So, yeah. Finizen and Finneon, you're quite a pretty Pokemon. I will give you that. It's quite pretty. It is generic fish, again. But it is pretty, at least. It's got good design. Its abilities are pretty good. Would be way better on anything else. Kind of fast. Not particularly special any other way, though. So, I don't really think about this mod much, other than this mod is weirdly, like, the first Pokemon that comes to mind when it is Pokemon that's forgettable. But it's the least forgettable Pokemon, is the way that... Because, again, it's the first Pokemon I think of when it comes to what Pokemon are forgettable. So, meaning it is memorable, but as a forgettable mod, which is pretty funny. Mantike is cute. Mantike, cute, gets point. Rotom Wash, very fun mon. Like I've told before, I'm not a huge Rotom user myself. But I know loads of people that love it. And Rotom Wash is one of, I think it's the best Rotom form. Rotom Wash and Rotom Heat I know are very comparable, but I believe Wash ends up being a little bit better. I believe because Rotom Wash is super effective against ground types, which Electric is naturally weak to and immune to the electric moves. So, gives you the better coverage. And it's a good defensive typing, better than Mo, is the main bit. Palkia! Yeah. Though in this particular case, I will give Palkia Origin a little bit lower marks. Mostly because its design is, while great, could be better. But it's still an S tier Pokemon. Palkia. Palkia is awesome. I do prefer regular Palkia to Kyogre. But I prefer Primal Kyogre to regular Palkia. And I prefer regular Palkia to Palkia Origin. Palkia Origin is great, don't get me wrong. But the design isn't amazing. The design loses at some points. I don't hate the design. I don't think it's a particularly awful design. I just don't think it's an amazing one. But it's still a Palkia, and it's great. And its stats more than make up for it. So, hell yeah. Okay, Fiona and Manaphy. I can never tell these two apart. I think this one's Manaphy. I think that's Fiona. Very cute mons. I'd like put them high A tier. Very cute. Pretty good. Hydration is an entertaining ability. I saw this thing get banned not long after I started doing competitive Pokemon, actually. I think it lowered a tier and then got banned from that tier, so it's like, are you ban list? I think. Because basically Drizzlemons. This thing is basically, you build it really tanky, give it a bunch of setup, and if you set the rain up, it's basically immune to status, which is kind of scary. So, I also think it gets Tail Glow, which is one of the best moves in Pokemon. It's basically super nasty plot. It gives a +3 boost. It's one of the few +3 stat increases with no downside moves, so pretty good. Arceus Water, I've talked about this before. I am indifferent. It's just Arceus. Okay. Give me a second. Oshawott. Okay, the Oshawott line, I will put it this way. Very forgettable. Oshawott, Duot, Samurott, right? I would put those there. However, and this is a big deal, regular Samurott, not a very good mon, very boring, doesn't really have anything going for it, it's not special, right? I don't hate its design, but I don't like its design. I've said before, I think all the Gen 5 starters are the worst starters. So, and I also will say, Samurott is probably my least favorite of the Gen 5 starters, which I think all of them are bad. But Samurott got redeemed in Hisui in Gen 8 because they made Hisuian Samurott, and Hisuian Samurott goes hard. I would say Hisuian Samurott is a deserving top of A tier. It's not quite S tier, I will say. Hisuian Samurott isn't quite good enough to S tier for me. But it's a really cool mon. It gets sharpness. It gets the freaking spikes move. I can't remember the name. Ceaseless Edge. That was it. Gets Ceaseless Edge, which is great. Cutting move, entertainingly enough. So it does get a boost from sharpness. It puts up spikes. It's just a really cool mob. I do very much like Hisuian Samurott. Massive upgrade over the regular. Massive upgrade. I'd say the biggest upgrade out of the 3 Hisui starters. Genuinely. I think I've said before, I prefer regular Typhlosion to Hisuian Typhlosion. Even if Hisuian is better, I like the vibe of regular Typhlosion more, and I prefer Flash Fire to Frisk any day of the week. But Hisuian Samurott is so much better than Samurott. Like, I think I voted regular Typhlosion as an S tier mon, and Hisuian Typhlosion as an A tier mon. Preference, I will pick Hisuian Typhlosion over Hisuian Samurott, I will say that. But I've talked about it, I just showed it. I think Samurott is a C tier mon, Hisuian Samurott is an A tier mon. So, very, very big upgrade. Whereas I think I prefer Decidueye to Hisuian Decidueye. So, as I said last week. They are a bit... There is a difference, and Samurott got the biggest upgrade. Hisuian Samurott is such a good upgrade to the design. Those fucking monkeys! Bugger off! Never put these back in the game, Game Freak. These were a mistake. Those monkeys, all of them, were a mistake, Pokemon. You know what? Yeah, actually, you know what? Go the fuck into F tier. I thought I was only going to put one mon in F tier. No, you're going in there as well. I hate these mons so much. Never should have been made. Awful Pokemon. They disgust me. If you made these Pokemon, if you ever watch this stream, whoever made Simipour. I believe that's his name, right? Something like that. Be ashamed. I hate this mod. And it's my least favourite of these shitty monkeys, probably. See, we do get... There's a reason for F tier. Okay. I think this is Poipole, Palpitoad, and Seismitoad. Poipole, quite cute. Get some points. Emperor Palpitoad. My voice is going. Give me a second, guys. I need some water. And this is actual water, not even a fizzy drink. I need actual water. Everyone remember to hydrate. Eight o'clock hydration break, apparently. We're getting through it. We are getting through this. Yeah, Emperor Palpitoad. Another solid B tier. They're both fun. Seismitoad, however. Seismitoad is one of the cooler Frogmons for me. Very good design all around. I would put Seismitoad as an A tier. Genuinely. A little bit behind Swampert. I think Swampert's salamander design kind of does beat out Seismitoad's frog design. But Seismitoad is a very, very cool mod. And I get people loving this thing. I know quite a few people really like Seismitoad, and I get it. It's a good design. Big stompy frogmon. Hell yeah. Pretty cool. The 3 types of Basculin. All 3 of you are going in C tier. But you're all at an okay point in C tier. I think this is red and blue first. And then there's White Stripe is the highest. Now, the reason why White Stripe is the highest is because it evolves. That's about it. It does mean there's more options to play with it, though. Basculin is just a strange mon to me. It's got good abilities and bad stats. Because again, it gets adaptability. Which is good. It gets good abilities, and you can make this thing really do some damage. But it's not really special, again. It is just generic Fishmon, right? As is a problem with a lot of Gen 5. Not all of Gen 5, I will say a lot of people give Gen 5 way worse rep than it deserves. It's the biggest addition of new Pokemon ever. And I will say, some of them are amazing, and some of them are awful. I think I described Gen 5 has the biggest hit or miss list of Pokemon. They are either serious hits or utter trash. Not saying Garbodor, because I actually quite like Garbodor. But generally, the Mons from Gen 5 are either absolutely outstanding or pretty bad. And I will put Basculin on the pretty bad ones because it is just fish. But they then gave it an evolution in Hisui, and Basculegion is pretty sick. So, yeah. Basculin, not great. Basculegion, when we get to you later, who is somewhere down here. Yeah, there they are. They are going to get a much higher review. Basculegion is pretty cool. Tortuga. I'm going to put you about here. I kind of like this one, and I really want to try it properly. The only time I've used this mod is in Poker Rogue, where this mod is very bad for Poker Rogue. Tortuga and Caracosta. I love Archelons, the animal. Giant turtles, like giant prehistoric turtles. They were so cool. And that's what Caracosta is based on. It is a very, very fun mon. I like Archeops as well. The Gen 5 fossils do go pretty hard. Not as hard as the Gen 6 fossils, but the Gen 5 ones do very much start to do really well. So yeah. Caracosta is great. It's got good abilities. I think it gets Strong Jaw, which I like. Shell Armor, which I like. Swift Swim, which I hate rain, so I'm never going to use it, but that's probably the best way to run it, I imagine. Yeah, it's pretty fun. Ducklet and Swanna, I'm going to put you here. I'm not a huge fan of this mon. I'd put it a bit below C. I think I actively dislike this mon. It's kind of worse Pelipper. It's Pelipper without a use, is what I see. It's so bad. I think this mod needs something to make it better. It's got the Mighty Anna respect, but not as cool. It just needs something to be better. The Monopoly guys, I will put you all down here. I quite dislike these mons. I think the Ghost tier, I put them a little bit higher than this, but I've been thinking about it since then, and it's like, nah, I think these are E tier. Actually, no, I don't dislike it. Yeah, I don't dislike it that much. I might despise the pink one, actually. Sorry. The blue one, the Mr. Monopoly is pretty cool. The Mr. Monopoly is not as good design. It doesn't... The stash just pops a bit better. I still don't like it, by any means. In fact, you know what? You're not Quillfish. But yeah. Not great. You know what? Rethinking my position. There we go. That feels better. Did really dislike Quillfish and really dislike Love Disc. They're just... They have no purpose. Ah, we get to another Pokemon that I don't like. Aloma Loma Lola Lola. I dislike you. Aloma Lola at least has the fact that it's very good going for it. And it has a very, very clear use. This thing is aggravating. The fact that it's not an evolution of Love Disc is a travesty, as far as I'm concerned. It really should be. There's no interaction, by the way, between Love Disc and Aloma Lola. It looks like the evolved form. It looks very clearly like the evolved form. In fact, you know what? Look at them next to each other. It looks like the evolved form. On the list. But there's genuinely no relation between these two Pokemon. Which is astounding. It's a Sunfish, which I do quite like Sunfish, but... Aloma Lola is just such an irritating mon for every reason. Yeah, I don't like this one. But it's not... I don't like this one because it's aggravating, and this is one of the mons that I will state Water needs extra weaknesses for. Because this thing is such a pain in the ass to deal with. And not a fun way. Also, they should get rid of Scald on this thing. This mon should not have Scald. Keldeo, I talked about you the other week. I don't really like Keldeo. But... like low C, I think. Like Psyduck, you're going higher on this. Yeah, both Keldeos. I'm not a Keldeo fan. I don't care what people say. The other Swords of Justice are way better and cooler. Well, actually, no. Correction. Virizion is significantly worse. Cobalion and Terrakion, I'd say, are about on par with it. This thing might be better. But I don't like Keldeo. Design-wise, it's by far the worst. And it's a bit dumb. I get why it exists. Because they had to make the... Is it Mercutio? I can't remember his name. The baby of the Three Musketeers. Because there's, like, the three musketeers, and there's the fourth one who's like the main character of the story, who wants to join them. I believe it's D'Artagnan. It might be D'Artagnan. But he's my least favourite of them. He's my least favourite of the musketeers as well, to be fair. But he's at least got something going for him. I just don't particularly like this mod. It's a good mod. It's a very good mod, I will say that. But okay. Right. A mod that I feel obliged to put in a high tier. In fact, you know what? Yeah, you go in here. This may feel like a travesty to a lot of people. Because I know so many people love this mod. But Greninja, while being an incredibly cool mon, and it's very deserving of A tier. Do not get me wrong, this mon is awesome. Every single one of the Gen 6 starters is great. And this is the middle one of the three. Greninja is very, very cool. Edgy as fuck. A little too edgy for me is one of the bits. That's what deducts it a fair few points. It is cool. And it's a very, very correctly well done version of the Pokemon. They went for Paladin, Witch, and Ninja. Right? For the vibes of the three. Greninja, I think, hits the mark the best of the three. It is very clearly Frog Rogue, right? And it is a ninja. It's the obvious to tell that it's a ninja. Delphox, you can tell that it's a witch, but you probably have to be told that it's a witch. And then you go, oh, I see it. Chestnut, you can say it's a paladin if you'll go, I mean, I kind of see it. So I think Greninja hits the best for the, it did the assignment the best, but I don't think it's as cool as Delphox. For me personally. But I know people love Greninja. It is very well deserving of an A tier. It's a very, very good mon. It's a very, very cool mon. So, yeah. I don't even know your name. Barbarical, I believe, is the D tier. Is the evolve form. I don't really like this mon. It's got tough claws, which is about all I can really say that it has going for it. Is the sea an enemy? It's... I don't know. For some reason, this mon irritates me. I don't really know why. I've never had any problems with it. I just don't really like it. For some reason. I don't know why. This Pokemon just... I don't really like. Skrelp, you're awesome. You are deserving of A, I think. Bit above Seismitoad. Dragalge, I significantly prefer to Skrelp. But yeah. Clawitzer and Clauncher, I'd say Clawitzer and Clauncher are deserving of C. Like, high C tier. It's got a cool vibe. I definitely understand it. It's like, it's got the projectile Mega Launcher, that's what it's called. Mega Launcher. Which Mega Launcher basically it buffs up all like the sphere or ball type moves. So Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, it does pulse moves as well, Water Pulse, all that kind of thing. Get a significant power boost when you use this Pokemon. Which is pretty cool, and I think it's a very fun idea for a Pokemon. So, yeah, I kind of hope this thing gets a Mega. I think a Mega version of this would go kind of hard. It's also Mega Blastoise's ability. Mega Launcher. Okay, Volcanion. Volcanion, I'd say, is a solid A, but whereabouts in A? I think I'll put you above Blastoise. It's a good mon. Like, this thing is crazy fun to use. It is the Scald mon, for a start. It actually has better Scald, essentially. It is the Fire Blast version of Scald. Assuming Scald is the flamethrower of water. Steam Eruption is the Fire Blast. I believe it's technically Hydro Pump. But with Scald built in, essentially. I believe it's just better Hydro Pump. Which is a very cool ability for a Pokemon to have. And it gets Water Absorb. It's a Fire-Water type. It's the only Fire-Water type. Probably ever. I'm not sure they'll ever make another Fire-Water type. I'm going to be honest. With Fire-Water, it makes sense not to make too many. It's kind of hard to do. You have to make it like a Kettle Pokemon or like a Boiling Watermon, essentially. So, I get it. If they make more, I'll be happy. But if they don't, eh. Okay, here we get to a bit of an interesting one. Poplio. I am not a huge fan of Poplio. Okay? I would put Poplio as a low C tier. I think it is one of the worst, not the worst, I will say, one of the worst first stage Pokemon starters ever. I just don't really like it. However, Poplio is the biggest example of don't be careful what you say to people in middle school. Because Brionne and Primarina are easy S tiers. Primarina is my other favorite water starter. Feraligatr and Primarina are pretty much tied. I love using Primarina in battle. Particularly. Primarina is such a good mon. I love its design. I think Poplio sucks as a design. But it makes up for it with Primarina and Brionne. I think both of them are amazing. It's a weird thing. I think in terms of coolness factor, one moment, guys. There we go. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. I forgot what Pokemon we were talking about. Oh yeah, Primarina. Primarina is awesome. I love Fairy Water type as a combo as well. This is the big, like, give this thing a Salt Vest or Leftovers. It is a point-and-click mon. It doesn't do anything particularly fancy. It is just really slow and really tanky. And it hits really, really hard as well. I think it has the highest special attack of any starter as well. Or it's definitely one of them. Primarina is terrifying. But it's very, very good. It's very good. And I genuinely like it. It is a cool mon. Wishy-washy. Oh, Wishy-washy. Wishy-washy. Baby, regular Wishy-washy there. School form Wishy-washy, the giant Dunkleosteus. Oh, you're the top of A. I love Wishy-washy. I really want to try using this thing. At some point. I would actually love it if there was a Mega Wishy-washy, which was like that form, but like much crazier. Or it was like a school of the Mega Wishy-washies, of the Mega form, of the big Wishy-washies. Genuinely with Wishy-washy, if they added 100 to its health, if they could Mega Wishy-washy and just added 100 to its health, this mon would be absolutely absurd. It'd be also, I think, one of the most powerful Pokemon ever made, if I'm being perfectly honest. Slow as balls. I think it's got 25 speed and about the same health, but it's got massive every other stat in school form. This Pokemon is really fucking cool. And I hope they do something with it, because it deserves it. It's a cool idea for a Pokemon. I hope they do something with it, genuinely. Okay. Send them to the top. This is the bit. So I've said this before. Toxapex, my beloved Marnie. I love Toxapex so much. It is between Milotic and Toxapex for my favorite water type. I think it's nowadays it's slightly leaning towards Toxapex, but it could genuinely go either way. These are probably my two favorites. They are certainly my two favorite water types. I absolutely adore using them. Absolutely adore it. This is both very good, very fun, very tanky. Like, use water types for tankiness, at least I do. And I use it quite often to stall out, to slow the game down, just to get past a problem Pokemon a lot of the time. And they both do a very, very good job of that. And I do love both of them. They're both very, very cool as well. They both got their own very different vibes, but I really like them both. Obviously, I love Marini and Toxapex so much. They're very cute. Milotic is beautiful as well. I'm a huge fan of both of these Pokemon, and genuinely, could go either way. Honestly. These two are equivalent. They are like my Garchomp, Charizard, and Rayquaza vote for what is my favorite Pokemon. These two, Toxapex and Milotic, are in the same running, but just for water types. There are Pokemon I significantly prefer to these, but for water types, these are the top two. Easy, easy. And they both change intermittently to which one is my favorite at the time. Dewpider, I really like you. Dewpider yourself, though, is only okay. But still great. So I'll put you above Seismitoad. But Araquanid is an immediate S tier. About there, I think. I love this mon. Generally, why people run this thing with Sash is bizarre to me. I know you can technically run it with Sash to give it, essentially, a guaranteed sticky webs, right? Because it's slow. I run this thing lefties because this thing is tanky. I give this thing max health, max attack, adamant. It's slow. You put the sticky webs out, sure. But then you just keep smashing in for damage because this thing hits so absurdly hard with liquidation. Because it's got good attack. It's like 115, I want to say. Something like that. I think it's over 100 attack. No, okay. It's 70 attack, so it's got a little less than 100 attack. However, the water bubble ability with liquidation. Water bubble, by the way, doubles the power of water type moves that the Pokemon uses. It also means the Pokemon can't be burned, I believe. And it does something else. Oh yeah, and halves the power of fire type moves that hit the Pokemon. Basically meaning this thing goes from neutral to fire to resistant to fire. And this thing is just scary good. It's got good defense. It's got absurd special defense. 132 special defense, which is kind of insane. 68 attack, which is fine. 92 defense, which is good. Right? So you just max out its health. Give it, like, I think I give it max health, max attack, adamant nature, so max its attack. Giving it a very, very respectable attack stat. I give it, like, liquidation, leech life, because leech life got good in the same gen. Sticky webs, and some other move. Whatever you feel like. Another physical hitting move, basically. Or maybe a setup. I don't know. Something else. Something for fun and flavor. Whatever you think it needs. But the big part is you get out the sticky webs and then you just got smashing in. You gotta do some work. The only thing you've really got to worry about would be a very, very hard-hitting flying physical move off the bat. And even then, it's not guaranteed to one-shot. The thing's pretty tough. So, genuinely, like, people really underestimate how durable Araquanid is. People think, oh, bug, terrible defense. No, it's not. It's got pretty good defense. Wimpod. Wimpod. I respect you for Wimp Out. Galisopod, though. Galisopod's kind of sick. I kind of want to try this mod real bad. I think up there. The thing about Galisopod, which is interesting, I would love to try a skill swap Galisopod build where you get rid of its ability. Like, its ability is pretty good, weirdly enough, but it would be better on not Galisopod, right? It's technically supposed to be there so it can get its massive first impressions off, right? Because its famous move is first impression. Like, it hits out into the field, does the huge amount of damage, something hits it, sends it back into your party, switches into something else, and you then send it out again later in the battle and get that first impression off again. Not bad, right? Basically, it's got a built-in eject button. But, and here's the kicker. Galisopod is a mon that gets really good setup moves. I personally would rather run this thing, still with first impression, but give it, like, sword stance, because it gets sword stance, liquidation or something like that, and leech life, because it's a very big, tanky mon. And I'd like to use it as, like, a setup powerhouse beatdown switching mon. You can't really use it as that because of its ability, which is a shame. Which definitely takes it down a good peg from how good it actually is. But it's still a very good mon, and I really do like it. Galisopod is an awesome mon. So I would love to try it with, like, a skill swapping build. Mewtwo, I do not know your purpose. I think you're tanky, and that is about it. You're kind of cute, I guess. Go above Samurott. Silly, though. I can't move that. That's a bit harsh. But put it there. You are a Pokemon I don't really think about. But you're kind of nice looking, I guess. Silverly, go here. I don't care. Once again, it's the Silverly. Yeah. Right, now for my least favorite fucking water type. I hate Bruxish. Bruxish is awful. It looks disgusting. It's one of the worst designed Pokemon ever conceived of. It's useless. Well, it's not useless. It's got decent abilities and stats. Like, it gets Strong Jaw. It's got Dazzling, which I think is a immunity to priority moves, which is pretty good. Because the Pokemon is so disgusting looking that it stops Pokemon attacking it. I think that's genuinely its law. It's a pretty shite mon all around. It has powerful attack. And you can make it work, but I hate this thing. It's such a disgusting looking Pokemon. Its design is dreadful. Which I think is the point, but I really don't like it. So yeah. Instant F tier. That's the Pokemon I was planning on putting F tier. It's my least favorite water type by a fair margin. Even including the terrible, terrible monkeys, which originally weren't going to be in F tier, but I went, no, you guys fucking deserve it. Ah. Now from a F tier loser to an S tier, amazing mon. I love Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is awesome. Not my favorite Tapu. My favorite Tapu is Tapu Lele. But I do really like Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is also a really cool Pokemon. I've used it a lot. It's the tanky Tapu, I believe. That isn't Tapu Boo Boo, but Tapu Boo Boo is bad. So... Tapu Fini being the one that actually has the fairy boosting abilities, basically. It's a good mon, honestly. Tapu Fini is very tanky. It hits pretty damn hard. You get Mystic Terrain, so it can't be statused pretty much from it. You can do a lot with this one, and I think its design is very, very cool. The, like, purple look to it is just... It's pretty sick, genuinely. Okay, we get to Gen 8. We're getting through it, guys. Sobble, Drizzile, Inteleon, and Gmax Inteleon. So Sobble is fine. Right. I have no particularly strong feelings about this Pokemon. It's got that. Emo Lizard, I don't really like Drizzile that much. It reminds me one of Ed, and Eddie, weirdly. But not in a positive way. I don't know, Emo Salamander doesn't really, like, click as a all-time winner. But again, it's got middle Pokemon. The middle Pokemon problem, right? Middle stage Pokemon, most of them look weird. There's a couple of very noteworthy exceptions. Particularly for starters, actually. But it's very much not the winner. Inteleon, though. Inteleon I actually kind of like. Again, so you're getting there. Inteleon Gmax is very good looking as well. I think the Sniper Tower design is inspired. Have I just... Sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, Gmax Inteleon, I love the Sniper Tower look. It looks great. I love that it turns its tail into the Sniper Tower. It actually gets a sniper rifle. It looks great. I think that is an inspired design. Chewtle is pretty neat. Chewtle's pretty neat. I'll give you an A tier. Actually, not quite. I'll put you around Tortuga. I think it's deserving Tortuga. Dreadnought, however, is a little bit higher than the other one. I love Dreadnought. I think Dreadnought is a really cool mod. I believe it gets Swift Swim as well. I think it gets Rock Head. It only gets Head Smash and Shell Smash, which I think is sweet. This mod is terrifying with Shell Smash, by the way. It is probably the best water rock type you can make. It's always been my thought. This thing is meant to basically power creep the other water rock types. I do slightly prefer the design of Kabutops, though. Even if it's significantly worse. As a Pokemon, Kabutops is still cool. And Gmax Dreadnought is fine. I don't like it as much as the regulars, but I still think it's great because it's Gamera, right? Gamera is a vibe. And I really wish they had the Gmax Tyranitar as well. They decided not to, but... But it's cool, right? Gamera's great. Cramorant, I don't like Cramorant. I've never liked Cramorant. I think it's an annoying Pokemon. I don't like how it works. It's confusing. It's weirdly tanky. It shouldn't be. It's got kind of okay tanky stats, right? Yeah, it's got like 70 health and 85 in both defense. 85 and 95. 55 and 95. Yeah, I've never understood. I've seen Cramorant's tank hits it has no right to. I think I've seen weird sets where it's been max health, max physical defense with an assault vest on. So you build this thing really tanky, give it a bunch of attacks, and just like gulp missiles things. It's a really weird mon. I really like it. Ah, yes, the ballistic missile fish is next. Barracuda. It was Aracuda and Barracuda. They've got a vibe. They are the single biggest this is for rain team Pokemon you can get, right? It's literally, this one is Power Crept Floatzel. It is stupid fast, hits stupid hard, it has literally no other stats. It is a pure glass cannon fish. It is designed specifically to go into the rain, outspeed absolutely everything, and you've given it a choice band, so it hits absurdly hard in the rain with a water move. It's exactly what this thing is. Basically, this thing is the water version of Leafeon that I use for Sun teams. Except it does all that job, but better. Because rain is a little bit busted for that respect. Yeah, so that's what it is. Dracovish, I love Dracovish. Dracovish, you are an S tier immediately. Probably here, actually. I think Dracovish is an awesome one. Fish's Rend is hilarious. The fact he gets, like, Sand Rush and Swift and stuff. This is a really cool mon. And I really want to use it in an actual competitive battle at some time. It's so fun. Now, I know that you can technically run this on a rain team, and it's probably the best way to run it. I would run this thing on, like, a sand team. I think this thing would be very fun for a sand team. Fish's Rend is hysterical. It's a good Watermon for a Sandstorm team. I actually like it now. Because Walking Wake exists in Sun teams, there is a good water type for every type of weather. Because Dracovish is the one for sand. It also does rain very well, but it also does very well for sand. Walking Wake is the sun version, which is very hard to do, I'm imagining. There is anything at all for rain. And for snow, there's a good couple as well. Like Lapras is good for the snow team, because blizzards and stuff like that. So there's a good few water types you can run very well in snow teams. There's also this thing, Octavish, which I don't know how good Octavish is. It's got a weird design. But I kind of dig it, you know? I think I'll put you in B. I think it's deserving in B. I don't know what this thing does. I think it's kind of tanky, but it doesn't really do it that well. I know it's not great by comparison. Now we've got the actual unfair bear. Rapid Strike Urshifu, the broken one. And that's really saying something, considering this is the more powerful Urshifu. Rapid Strike Urshifu, you are getting A tier. Because you are a cool mod, right? You just are. But Rapid Strike is too powerful. I will state that. Rapid Strike Urshifu is insanely strong. Single Strike Urshifu has a thing where it's got a quad weakness. And that kind of makes up for its absurd power. Because if it gets outspared and gets hit by the quad effective move, it's dead, right? It's just a dead one. Rapid Strike Urshifu, there's nothing that guaranteed one-shots it, because Urshifu's quite a tanky Pokemon, just outright. And without a quad weakness, you can't guarantee the kill. You can very likely get the kill, like a very powerful, very high, like you hit this thing with a Flutter Mane, like it's dying either way. It doesn't matter if it's quad effective or not. But the problem is that this thing isn't guaranteed down from that kind of a hit. It's probably down, but it's not guaranteed. And that's the main issue I have with Rapid Strike Urshifu, is it's too good. And also, its move is better than Wicked Blow. The Rapid Strike version, which I can't remember the name of. Not Aqua Jet, not Aqua Step. Surging Strikes. Surging Strikes is a triple hit move that I think does the same damage as Wicked Blow. They're 3 hits, always crit. Water is terrifying for that aspect. And, and, yeah, it's a bit much. That's what I'll basically give it. And because water's a good defensive typing as well, it means that it's not really got any true weaknesses. Yeah. So I will say fully, Rapid Strike Swoop is a very powerful mod, and it's a very good mod, and it's a very cool mod. It's too powerful. It needs a nerf. In some aspect. I wouldn't be surprised to see both Urshifus lose some stats, or maybe get some stat distribution changed around, or maybe their signature moves weakened. I could totally see their signature moves being weakened, honestly. I could see, or at least Rapid Strikes. But I think, this is one of the reasons as well that I think Water needs extra weakness. Preferably, I think Water should get a weakness that gets Fighting as well. Because Fighting is a crazy good type. Like, people say, oh yeah, Fairy nerfed Fighting, which it did. I think it could do with nerfing again. To be honest. Yeah. Essentially that. Bascule Legion, both forms of Bascule Legion are very, very cool. I will put them... I'll put them both in A, in Anchovy tier. The female one is better, but the male one has a better design, I will say. For reference, Bascule Legion's moveset is shockingly bad for the male one. It has nothing good, really, on its physical for ghost moves outside of... I think it gets literally Last Respects and Phantom Force. Which, for reference, Last Respects is brokenly good. But that's the problem. It's brokenly good, so it's banned. So, yeah. If you're running this casually on your own, yeah, absolutely run male Bascule Legion and use Last Respects all day, every day. But if you're in non-Ubers competitive Pokemon, you can't use Last Respect, so you probably should use the female one because she has Adaptability Stab Shadow Ball, because she's a special attacker. Which I think is kind of neat as a concept. Okay. Quaxley, I don't like you, Quaxley. I think you are the worst starter. Actually, Quaxley yourself, I will give you the benefit of there. I don't think Quaxley, for specifically Quaxley, is the worst water starter of all time. I think it's okay. If you picked it for that, fair enough. Quaxwell, you absolutely deserve E tier. You are one of the worst, if not the worst, middle stage evolution of all Pokemon. It's between you and Quilladin. For me. I think these are awful mons. I originally thought that the middle stage of Fuecoco was the worst of the 3. Until I saw this thing in game and saw that that little weird pompadour thing it's got has like jiggle physics. And it's supposed to, I'm assuming, look like hair. But because it's a giant bubble of water, it looks like it's a pustule. It looks like it's infected with something, which I do not think looks good. And Quaquaval, we all know I don't like Quaquaval, so you are also in E tier. And you know you're not in E tier because you're at least good, which gives it the benefit that you're just in D tier. But you are probably my vote for my least favorite starter of all time. I do not like this mon. It's at least good. It's a powerful mon, so I give it the credit of it's very strong mon. It's, I think, the weakest still of the Paldea starters. It's also the worst, so it's the worst of them and the worst designed. So it doesn't really get any better for it. It's kind of just losers. Right. I do not like Quackaball at all. Awful mon. Awful mon. Now we get to Wiglet and Wugtrio. Wiglet is fine. That's all I can really go. It's fine. Fine mon. Behind Basculin, I think. And Wugtrio. I like the idea of them, because they basically made, like, Water Diglett, essentially, based on sand eels, which is kind of cool. It is an idea. Don't really think it works crazy well, but I don't think it works crazy badly either, right? It's just fine. I don't think there's any strong thoughts about it. Okay. Finizen. Let's put you here. And Palafin, I will give A tier to Palafin. Palafin is such a cool idea for a Pokemon. That's what I really like about it. Now, I'm not a huge dolphin guy. I don't particularly hate dolphins. But they need a worse PR team. They deserve to get their PR team given to Sharks. But dolphins are alright. And Palafin, the idea of Palafin is great. So basically, the point of Palafin, if you don't know, it first enters the battle in its little baby dolphin mode, right? Then as soon as it leaves, it gets into its hero costume and turns into Hero Palafin. Hero Palafin, by the way, which has similar stats to a Groudon. Palafin Hero form is a crazy powerful Pokemon. Absolutely obscenely strong. It is the mod that Flipturn was made for, basically, right? Which, that to me, is a very cool idea for a Pokemon. It's got a downside that means it's got a weird ability which allows a more powerful Pokemon. It's kind of like Slow Start or Truant in a way. It's kind of in that vein. They can make a stronger Pokemon by giving it a negative ability. Because it is a negative ability, because if it didn't have Zero to Hero, it would be just Hero Mode. Forever. And the Hero Mode is crazy powerful. But you have to basically give up a turn to get your Hero Mode. Which you will do, by the way, because Palafin is a good mon. I believe it's Ubers in singles. Also means it's arguably the worst Pokemon you could possibly have for 1v1. But, yeah. It is kind of neat. And very good, honestly, so. See, how much is Palafin's total stats? Yeah, Palafin Hero form. Yeah, Palafin Hero mode has a 150 base stat total. Which is a 650 base stat total, for reference. And 160 of that is attack. Meaning it has the same attack as a Slacking. So they definitely knew what they were doing. With that mod. It's Gen 9's answer to Slacking, basically. Voltin Veluza. Veluza's alright. I will give it a pretty cool mon out of 10. Putting it in a solid B tier. I like Fillet Away. Or Fill It Away. Fill It Away is a really, really cool ability. Or move. Basically gives it a big offense up. It's kind of Shell Smashy, I believe. Because it basically, it's a fish fillet mon, basically. It's a weird concept, but it's kind of cool. I just kind of wish it wasn't on Geeta's team. I wish he had a different Pokemon. Hell, I'm sad she doesn't have a Palafin on her team. That would have been really cool. If she opened the battle in the tournament, if she opened the battle with a flip-turning Palafin of the champion fight, I think it would have been really cool. Just because I don't think they wanted to reuse a Pokemon from the story. So, I don't think that she was going to use Dondozo, because Dondozo obviously goes with Tatsugiri for that particular team. So, and all the rest of the water types I think we saw earlier in the game. So she did use a repeat anyway with Veluza, but would be cool for Palafin. Dondozo, you are aggravating to fight, dude. But you are a very cool design for a Pokemon. So I will give you a solid A tier. Like a low A tier, but I think it's deserving of an A tier. It's really cool. Giant murder catfish. All the Tatsugiris are going right next to you as well, just so you can have your options for sushi. I think I'll put the tuna sushi at top spot. What can I say about Tatsugiri and Dondozo? Dondozo is awesome. Tatsugiri is hysterical. I love the concept of Tatsugiri, where it's little, it's a little tiny, like, commander. It's very smart. Hey, it's very hard. Tatsugiri is actually a pretty good mod. Dondozo is significantly better, but they actually work well in combination. Because they're obviously designed as, basically a fusion Pokemon. Because basically Tatsugiri gets eaten by Dondozo and gives Dondozo a massive stat buff. Because Dondozo is very slow, very tanky, and very powerful. Which is quite scary. Okay! Iron Bundle, the Mecha Delibird. Just purely on the balls of whoever had the guts to make a Delibird good. I salute you. Iron Bundle is a terrifyingly good Pokemon. A tier, easy. I have such horrified respect to this mon. This mon was one of the biggest challenges in the Pokemon Draft League I originally went in with my friends. Because someone drafted Iron Bundle, I had no idea what it was. And I looked it up and it was like, this thing is terrifying into my team. But yeah, it was a very, very, very scary mod. So, deserves its respect. Walking Wake, you're an S tier mod. I love Walking Wake. I will put Walking Wake here. I'm so happy there's actually a water Pokemon that can work on a Sun team. Is a big one. Also, it's better Suicune in terms of looks. I love it. It's a theropod dinosaur, which I love. Theropods are my favorite. I rock the T-Rex vibes all the time. I love it. Anyway, what can I say? It's a great mon. I loved using this thing. I choice spexed mine. I used it for my Sun doubles team that I used in the Blueberry Academy DLC of Scarvi. I had a Walking Wake on that team as my water type. It was such a good mon. And just so cool as well. It ticks every box. It's great. Hope it comes back. Water Ogerpon! You're an Ogerpon. You immediately get top of S tier. And it's the mask. Terror mode. What can I say? I love Ogerpon. Everybody knows I love Ogerpon. Ogerpon is one of my favorite mods ever. Water is not my favorite form of it, though. Which is why it is below the other two water types. But it is still very much deserving of that top S tier spot. And finally, we are done. It's just under 3 hours. Damn. And the fucking screen is so huge. Is that all on? There it is. That is the water type tier list. For reference, water types are the most prolific type in Pokemon. Can we get a couple of generations where we basically don't get any, please? Please, for the love of God. Yeah, this was my water type tier list. It was honestly painful to do this one because I was tired and I have a sore throat now. But yeah, this was actually a lot of fun to do, honestly. Water types are great. My God, are there too many, though. And it's fairly even through mediocre to good. But I say, water does have some stinkers, and it has some absolute trash in it. But a lot of the Pokemon are either above average or I don't think of them very much. So, there is that. Also, do have to bear in mind there's lots of evolutionary lines in water types. Because obviously there's all the starter Pokemon and things. And since there's so many, there's a lot of versions of them. Too much water. Exactly. Exactly. But yeah. There's a lot of water Pokemon. That's all I can really comment for it. They're fine. Oh, I think we're actually on the last 2 weeks next. For the tier lists. Exactly. So it makes sense it's the most common type, but can we seriously not get some, please? Can we have the next Pokemon game set in a desert? Right in the middle of a desert. No water types. Outside of the water star, that's it. 75% of the Pokemon need to be water. Exactly, that's what it feels like. Ugh. I genuinely think that if you add... I think if you add together the 3 types that have the least Pokemon in, they don't have as many Pokemon in their types, including full evolutionary lines, than water. Genuinely. In fact, I actually want to get the... What is most common Pokemon types? I want to get it up again. Because there's a list. Okay, rank by total number. So for 18th place, there are 50... Okay, so there are 58. I'll write these down because math, you know. Fairy is 69. Nice. Steel is 73. Right? Those are the 3 lowest. And they add up to what? 58 plus 69 plus 73. 200 exactly, right? Water types. Oh, no, it's not quite. It's closer than you'd think, though. There are 159 water type Pokemon. Which reference is significantly more than Ice and Fairy put together. There are more water types than there are Pokemon in Gen 1. For reference. Just think about that. But yeah. That's a lot of Pokemon. Yeah, there's the tier list done anyway. But yeah. I'm going to go and relax and heal my throat. Because, my God, talking for these 3 hours and shouting and trying to be like this, while tired, is very tiring. My voice is actually starting to go properly now. See, I think I'll be quiet for the rest of the evening, which is going to be a very big challenge for me. But yeah, I'll be back on tomorrow. Don't know what the fuck I'll be doing. But I'm sure I'll find something to do. Yeah, I'll be back on tomorrow. We do have Altera this week, I believe, as far as I know. So it should be a fun time then. Yeah, I can actually think of stuff. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. See you around next. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Have a fantastic evening. Every single one of you. Keep playing video games. Keep it awesome. You guys all the best with Twitch. Enjoy yourselves, guys. Have a lovely, lovely evening. Good night. See ya.